Hello Fly Nation and welcome to the Freestyle Your Life podcast, the one and only podcast inspiring you to live your authentic greatness while teaching you that less is more. I'm your host, Anne Zimmermann, and I'm on my mission to help you to be the hero you were meant to be and to live what you came for in life and in business. Remember, the quest we came here for is to discover our true nature, explore our potential and share it by living. Hello Fly Nation, welcome to the Freestyle Your Life podcast. I'm happy to present you Mary Elizabeth Marley on episode number 30, and we explore why trying to fit in order to belong finally kills you. We share the necessary steps you can follow to transform into your true authentic self. Wishing you a lot of inspiration in listening how you too can enjoy life authentically on own terms. Let's jump right into it. So, welcome dear listeners. Today I'm honored to have Mary Elizabeth Marley on the Fly podcast, and we'll be talking about whether it's good to fit in or whether just to belong to some groups or somewhere, or whether we should go for ourselves, be authentic, and just be how we are and show ourselves, show up without masks. This is the question we'll be discussing today. And Mary Elizabeth is a practitioner in Chinese medicine, and she will share all about how we can thrive or how we can hold ourselves back, right? If we always try to make compromises just to fit in, there will always be somebody who doesn't like what we are talking about, or doesn't like the nose, or whatever it might be. So we cannot please everybody, right? So
that's right.
That's just the case. We have to be ourselves and be authentic and without masks. And the persons who relate to that, they will be with us, and the others won't, and that's totally okay. So that's our intention here. And again, I'm so honored to have you here talking about the benefits of being ourselves rather than wearing masks and trying to fit in and never be yourself. So that's our topic today. So she is a midlife transformation specialist and guides women to stop sacrificing their relationship to their work and learn to allow love expand who they are in the world. So just be yourself in short words, right? And
yes, exactly, in every area of life.
And so she will join some ideas. We have really related ways in our transformation. We both transformed over and over, not to fit in, but to, it's not English when I say fit out, but to come back to ourselves, right? To discover ourselves, to come back to ourselves, to find ourselves, and then to align with being authentic, and then to show it in the world. That's what we are doing here. So that's the big question. And Freestyle Your Life is all about that topic. It means to break free from whatever sucks. Could be a job relationship or a partnership or whatever. And to break free from that, to stop fitting in, as our topic is today, and to start becoming authentic and to start living and enjoying life in an authentic way. That's what Freestyle Your Life is about. And that's exactly your topic. And that's why I'm so honored to have you here. So, let's jump right in, Marley. You have a blog article, which I really love. And this says, instead of trying to fit in, allow yourself to believe you belong. That was the question you had there. Because, just to introduce you a little bit to our listeners here, you've lived in Taiwan and you're grown up in 3 cultures. And this is America, Venezuela, and Swedish. So I'm curious how Swedish fits in there. But you tried, to fit in wherever you have been. And this, of course, did lead to nowhere, as we're just discussing. And until you transformed and realized trying to fit in somewhere doesn't mean you belong there. So that's belonging, right. The feeling of belonging somewhere is an inside job, right? It's not from the outside. It's it's an inside job to come to ourselves and then just be ourselves. And that's right. That's what I would like to share with our listeners. And you try to fit in, but you still felt isolated, right? Because that's this was not right. The solution. So I would love if you could share with our listeners how you made the transformation about that topic, and what did you really do on this case?
Thank you. Yes. So what I learned growing up, because I grew up going between 3 places. I was born in New York and went to school in New York. But even before I was a year old, we went to Venezuela twice. Shortly after, we went to Sweden to visit my mother's family. Sweden came in because my father was studying abroad at the Karolinska Institute, which is a medical institute in Sweden. And he was doing a semester there. And he met my mother and fell in love and brought her back to the United States. They got married and then back to the United States. And his side of the family is Venezuelan and American. And so what I learned, I spoke these 3 languages while I was growing up. And even it took some time to sort which language was which. So I would just speak them all at the same time and kind of wait to see, does this person understand? Which one do they speak? And so there was always this watching to see what the other person wanted or could understand, and then trying to give them that, right? So this is what happens when we try to fit in. We're always trying to look, and it's a survival strategy. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's what we learn to do when we're children, so that our parents love us, so that we do well in school. There's a lot of reasons why we try to fit in. But at some point, I think at some point in everyone's life, early, or for me, it happened very early. For some people, it happens a lot later. But at some point, there comes a moment where you realize, oh my God, this person that I'm showing the world is not the real me, right? Yes. Like at some point, there's an awakening where you're like, I'm doing all the right things. Why do I hate my life?
Yes.
Right? And so for me, that came pretty early, and I began doing meditation. I began doing inner practices, working with therapy. I didn't do a lot of therapy. I did some therapy to try to understand myself. But, and over time, as I realized more and more what my real desires are, what I really enjoy, I could no longer try to be the person that was appropriate to every situation. Right. So, for example, here's an example of what used to happen with me, and the kind of pushback I got from my family when I was living in Taiwan. I was 21 years old. My parents came to visit, and I was so, I went to Taiwan and I slipped into the culture of taking off your shoes at the door. And then there's certain very specific things you do to be polite. And I was fluent in the language. So, I would follow the rule. I'm a rule follower because I want to be accepted, And so my parents came to town and my father said, why, his response was always like, why are you trying to be Chinese? You're not, and my response was, I'm a guest in their culture. Like I couldn't even understand that there was some issue. I was like, I'm a guest in their culture. I do things in a way to have them feel good. And so I was so much about trying to seamlessly fit in wherever I could, and so afraid to stand out, and so afraid to be different. But the fact is, I was different everywhere I went. In Venezuela, I'm the American cousin. In Sweden, I'm the American cousin. In the United States, I'm the European. In Taiwan, I'm the American. Right. So everywhere,
I understand.
That's why it set up this feeling of isolation and kind of like I was always outside, like I always fit out, but not in the good.
Yes.
And so what I've learned over time was that I had to actually go inside and get really clear about who I am, not the person who's trying to be the right person for every situation.
Exactly.
But what do I really love, and what makes me feel good?
Yeah.
And when someone treats me a certain way, is that okay or is that not okay? And when do I have to set a boundary? I had to learn to set boundaries on what didn't feel good.
Exactly, Maria Elizabeth.
Yeah, and so that work happened over time to the point where, and I want to say that I'm curious for your listeners if they have this experience. My experience, and for you also, my experience is that with respect to my work, I've always had a very strong sense of what I want to do. And I've been very individualistic and followed my own path with my work.
Right.
Every single thing I did, my father challenged, and I said, nope, it's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because it feels right, But for me, it was in the area of relationship where I had to work much harder to find that sense of clarity and self-trust, really.
Yes.
So I married a wonderful man, my best friend, someone my mother, would approve of. My family loved him. And what I discovered over time was that it wasn't the right marriage for me. As good a person as he is, we didn't really totally fit in the way that I imagined. Because I realized that choosing someone that my family would approve of, it set me up. It just wasn't the right choice. I mean, it was the right choice at the time.
Yes.
But as I continued to grow and come into my own person, I realized, oh, this really isn't right for me. And I started to get sick physically.
Yeah, as I did.
I wasn't listening, as you did.
As I did, right.
Because this is what happens when we don't listen to ourselves. Our bodies are so intelligent and they send message after message after message. This isn't right. This isn't right. Yeah. This isn't right. And I finally had to listen because I just felt terrible. And that was when I was able to, we ended up, we worked in therapy for quite a long time, et cetera, but eventually that marriage ended. And then I was able to do some deep work with myself to discover what I really want in relationship, and then ended up meeting someone who has similar values and goals to me, where it does feel like a good fit. And so you asked the question, the difference between belonging and fitting in, to me, is fitting in is you're looking at the outside and trying to be the right person to make the outside happy.
Exactly.
And belonging comes from a place where when you trust yourself and really accept who you are, the good and the not so pretty, you have a sense of inner belonging. Right. And from that place, the world feels very different. You can walk in anywhere and be yourself, and totally. and there's more ease and joy because you're not always trying to strategize the right thing. You're just yourself.
Right. So I'm so thankful for you to share this, because this is exactly what I can relate to. I experienced almost the same. And but still most of us, and maybe we both transformed over and over and do it less, but sometimes we just go into autopilot mode, and it still happens to us also. But most people just try to please and to fit in, and this is totally not helpful, might be even making you sick, or in my case I already faced death. So this was this was urgent time to change that. Yes. But we get so many symptoms and so many signs, as you just told us, and that's exactly what I also can relate to. I got so many symptoms, but I didn't know how to change. And of course, we have fear to change, and we don't want to change, and there is so many unclarity in all that, and how it's gonna work out, how it's gonna be, but after all, going through these big transformations, both of us, and having really physical issues, right? We had to transform, and transformation in this case was the only thing that really made sense, right? To heal the situation. And
absolutely, and that's the thing that brings back health. If it's not too late, like health is right. I mean, I've been lucky to get my health back. I hope you have too.
Yeah, but I had to really work on that a lot. I can assure you. So, because
I ask you a question?
I managed myself so deeply in, so what came over years doesn't go away in 1 second, right? That's an illusion. But just let me answer to the point before. So what I realized, and what you just stated here, is that it's us to make the decision what I call it tolerate, right? From a husband, from a partner, from a boss, from whatever. Or you call it, let's set up boundaries, right? It's us to tell it. If it's not okay with us, we shall say stop, right? And that's what also freestyle your life is about. To break free from what is really hurting you, getting you depressed, or even worse, physically spoken. So it's us to change it. Nobody on the outside will ever change it. It's us to change it, and to come back to self-love and to self-healing. And self-healing in this meaning is to say stop. This is not good for me. I'm feeling unhappy. In the worst case, I'm getting even ill. I will not tolerate this no longer, no matter who this behavior situation or whether it is come from. And to notice we are going on unconscious autopilot, and we have to stop it. We have to become self-aware and conscious and present of, sort of observing what is going on here, in which situation we want to fit in, which is not the solution. We just cleared that, but still most of the people do, and that's why we get burned out and depressed and even worse. So this is so important.
Let me ask, because this is, as a coach, this is where I see the importance of having a coach or a mentor or someone who helps walk you to, because this is what I wanted to ask you, was when you were at that point where you were physically ill and you just could not go on in the same way, what was it that gave you the strength or the inspiration or the ability to make that change? Because from what I see is very often it's a coach or a mentor of some kind who says, I see where you are, You know, I see, you know, tell me where you want to go and let's walk there together. Like very often we need assistance of some kind. For some people it's therapy, for some people it's a doctor, for some people it's a coach, for some people it's a best friend. I mean, so I'm curious for you, what was the thing that gave you the strength to turn and actually take action?
Let me put it this way. It's, and this is for our listeners also a good tip. It's very hard to change on your own. It's not like I'm going to change and we change because we've set up these patterns and this behavior for like maybe 50 years, right? And yeah, and so it's just an illusion to stop it like that. It's an unconscious pattern running on autopilot, which we don't really recognize. That's why it's so necessary to observe and to notice and to be even able to change something. In my case, it was I was married to the wrong man, yes. And this led to really severe heart disease. So I'm sitting here with you talking with my second pacemaker. And thankfully, these devices are great and make life pleasant again. But I struggled a lot on the heart side, and I'm a very emotional and highly sensitive person. So it turned out that, I faced cancer 4 times and 18 operations. So I know everything in this field until really I faced death. And in that special moment, it wasn't just for me, but it was envisioning my sons at the funeral and my loved dad. And really this broke my heart again. And I was still young. This was at age 48, so not a real old woman yet. And I wanted to live, but I wanted to have life like I could enjoy it, right? But not only with illness and at the hospital. This was surviving, but this was not enjoying life. And
that's right.
So I really had to learn it the hard way to embrace the suck. That's why, of course, I made up this topic here. And I had my solution was to really step out of every role and mask and whatever I did set up or fitting in or belonging or trying to belong. And to break free from all that. So that's why I set up this system, and everything I'm teaching there, I've gone through myself. So by trial and error, I tried everything on this planet for myself. And so I know everything in this field. And of course, some things help, the others don't. And after all, we are still different. So what might be a healing solution for me doesn't mean it will work on you. So this is still a tricky thing there. But I had to totally transform and find back to myself. I've lost myself with 2 companies, with 2 sons, with being business women and mother, and I have the dog, and I have the big garden and washing, buying, cooking, whatever you can imagine. I had all these sorts of jobs, and I'm a very helping person, so I try to support everybody around except me.
Yes.
I forgot myself completely in all that story,
as we do, as so many women do.
And I got the kick, right? So I had to learn it actually the very, very hard way. but I did. Otherwise, we wouldn't speak. But I want to change everything around, turn everything around? No, of course not. But I just had, and I want to help people to see this up front, right? So they're going in
right before.
If you don't like it, and if you, everybody does feel if it's pleasant for me, am I happy or not? So this is very easy to sense, and to pivot and make course directions before you even get ill that badly, right? Or facing cancer, everything. This is just. Cancer is just, it's not a really, I would not say a good thing. It's a sign of the body that there is something that wants to be seen, right? Yeah. So before, in my case, everything like that I didn't want to have was an enemy for me, right? So I had to learn to embrace all this, sorry, fucking suck. And before I try to get rid of it, I try to push it away, but this is not the solution, right? Because the problem comes back in another present. It's in fact it's a present from a friend. Once we are prepared to listen to it, to learn from it. If not, the same present comes in another package until we learn the lesson we are here to learn for, right? So I
so agree, and I want to really bookmark and highlight what you said there, because it's so important that to really embrace all of it. You know, and it's not that by embracing the suck, as you call it, which I love as an expression, embrace the suck. It's. I think people have a fear that if they were to let themselves feel how unhappy they really are, or how much they really don't like their life right there in the current circumstance. I think one of the main fears about doing that is to get lost in the pain. You know, so we avoid the pain, we push away the pain, we try to go on, we say, oh, it's not really that important. I can do it. And the thing is, until we accept all of ourselves, even the parts that are inconvenient and don't fit our vision of who we think we are, until we embrace and can love those parts and come back into a kind of union or belonging with ourselves.
Right. Completely.
It doesn't change on the outside. There will always be that thing that's not feeling right, you know? And so one of the things I love to work with as a coach is the voices in people's heads, because, you know, we have our motivated one, we have the voices that we like, right? But then we also have the voices we don't like, the critic that's very loud, or the sloth, you know, the lazy one who just wants to sit on the couch. Oh, we don't like that one. Or the pessimist who just hates everything and is critical all the time, you know. Right? So we have all these different voices, and what many of us try to do is kind of ignore or push away the ones we don't like.
Exactly.
But then they go back to behind the scenes and they start to mess with your life. You know?
Exactly.
And so it's like a subconscious thing. You start to sabotage things.
Totally. Yeah.
And so the way I like to work with it is to have people really listen to and honor and love in the way that you were able to, you know, I'm not going to say you loved your cancer, but you were able to see your cancer as a teacher in some way, and not ignore how shitty it felt, but place your attention by choice on what you need to learn here. Right. That's a choice. That's the powerful thing that will change your life. What do I need to learn here? What is this thing trying to tell me? What does this critic actually want? Well, my critic just wants me to be more successful. Well, that's a nice thing. It just doesn't know how to say it right. It says it in a way that has me, you know, feel terrible. And that's something to work on. But reject the critic or to try to push away and ignore the critic, tell the critic it's bad.
Yeah.
That never works.
It's not the solution. I really had to learn this the hard way, as I just mentioned. But I had a great coach, and these personal transformations are not likely you're going to succeed going there on your own, right? So maybe you know him. He's Derek Rydell. Derek Rydell. Do you know him? Derek Rydell.
No, I've heard the name, but I don't know his work. Yeah,
he's gone the same, had the same struggles, and he's brilliant on the field of emerging, and we all need our coaches. So I had plenty of them. Yeah. And in all different parts and areas of life, and then in business also, and I'm really grateful for them. But what I learned is by trying to, most of them also are mind freaks, right? Mind freaks. We just have expectations or whatever, and this is not reality. This is just something we assume to. It will be like that, right? And it sticks. So our brain is just made by the ego-based part, which is mostly just to survive, right? Exactly. And we have the thinker in our brain who doesn't do anything than looking around everywhere to prove what we actually just think, and he will find something. So whenever we whenever we think something is good, we get a proof, okay, it's good. Whenever we think something is wrong, we get also proof that thought is also right. So this is not the way to get out of the struggle. So, for example, with the multiple health issues that I faced, what I mean by embracing the suck is, I came to the conclusion: if I throw it away, of course I didn't want to have it, but I didn't solve the problem this way. So I came to the conclusion that I have to feel everything that I don't want to feel, of course. And I had a lot of backpack from not a lovely childhood, unhappy childhood. So this is still the small child in us, which is crying there, which wants to be held. And today we have to be our best mother, right? We can do that. That's right. We just have to come to the point to understand how all this works. And so what I did is I was sitting down at a big conference round table with all the so-called enemies, which indeed are friends. We both know that, and we try to share it with our listeners here. So there was the heart and the cancer and the leg and the whatever, everything aching there. And I noticed them. I gave everybody a voice. So I was really in a big conference with all my body parts here. And but they got hurt. And every emotion that was there was hurt too. So by doing this, for me, this was if I should rate it, well, I did everything. But if I should rate it now, after I've gone through so many healing techniques and everything, this was almost the most important and the most effective, I would say, to embrace whatever it is, because it already is. So because it's what is. It's silly. If something you're arguing with reality, it is, and it is. And that doesn't mean we agree on that. Totally not. It's just accept what is and come to a clear state of mind. I have a good friend of mine, Carl Contino. He's working on the special mind challenges there, and he's calling it the slippery mind. And he's on an episode also.
Oh, good.
Because yes, it's a mind thing at first place, and then of course it comes to behavior, to feelings, to everything, and so it affects our whole life, whatever we assume or what we think, right? And that's the point where to address at first place, and then we can work on all the other parts. Because I'm more the feeling person, and out of my life lessons, I would say yes. It's of course it's the mindset and the thoughts we have, because they become feelings and emotions, and how we feel, we're gonna behave, and how we behave, we're gonna react, and how we react, of course, determines our results. But still, we can do positive thinking, right? And it's so great. Yeah, but if we don't believe ourselves, what we tell ourselves, this will not be the solution, right? So for me, the feelings are much stronger and much more difficult to eliminate, right? Or to find a solution to. And if we are not prepared to feel the feelings that are in the backpack there, and we tried 50 years not to feel them, and they are thought in my case, they have been in a deep basement down there, and they couldn't get up, but they tried to, and it got worse and worse and worse, and they get stronger and stronger because they are still there. It's an illusion to think they are. I don't want to have it. It's not there. Yeah, it's still there.
That's
and
right.
It becomes stronger and stronger. So I think the only way to deal with all that is, of course, change the mindset, right? But positive thinking only will not heal the situation. But of course, then work on the feelings and on the emotions that are stuck deep inside.
Yeah.
Because they want to be seen, right? And
that's right. And it's also like, and then there's a deeper layer where they're through allowing them to just be what they are.
Right.
Then you can drop actually below that and discover who you really are underneath all the reactions and
totally.
The backpack. Who are you under the backpack? Like when you take off the backpack, who are you really? And that's the question I think that's at the core is just like we recognize that I am not my thoughts, even though my thoughts are, loud and very believable a lot of the times. I'm more than my thoughts. I'm also more than my feelings. My feelings have a right to exist, but I'm more than my feelings.
Right.
I am my body. My feelings express through my body as health and disease.
Yeah.
And but I'm also more than my body. And so then to me, it's always the deeper inquiry of like, well, who am I really?
Exactly.
Underneath all these things, and how do I let more of that out so that the cycle of energy is flowing and clear, and that there's not sticking happening, which is where we run into trouble, is where things get sticky.
Yeah, it blocks. Energy is blocked.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally agree, Mary Elizabeth. And the thing is, as we try to change, right, the fear kicks in, and then we are stuck again because we are so full of fear that we hardly can't move. But and we still stop it most of the time, right? If it's getting unpleasant and fearful. But even at this point, this is the point to go ahead, right? to
yes, and also
overcome the fear,
the
to
point
act
where,
in spite of fear, to solve the problem. Oh, we have an internet connection problem here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, there was an internet connection problem. Okay.
Yeah. So this moment where the resistance comes and the fear comes and you want to stay where you are is where it's so helpful to have a coach there with you who sees it and can help you navigate that path. Because in the way that I work, there are people that are like, feel the fear, do it anyway, just push the fear aside. And that's not my style. I mean, there's times that it's right to, you want to acknowledge the fear. And to me, I'm always curious, like, well, what's it about? What do you teach me?
Yes, exactly.
Maybe sometimes the fear actually has something valid to say.
Totally
like,
agree.
You're about to fall off a cliff. You might want to not step over there.
Yes.
Right? That's a time where fear is good and you want to listen. So I'm much more about, let's see what's here and then choose the actions that suit where you want to go. So it's not just blindly pushing aside your resistance and your fear, but actually understanding where they're coming from, and then you can decide, oh, I see. Yeah, this fear is actually not something I need to listen to. Let's keep going. Or, oh, this fear is really real. And I'm about to do damage here. If I push too hard, I'm gonna damage something. Let me slow down and move very slowly and carefully here.
Yeah.
And that's where having a partner on the journey is so helpful.
Right. That is key, to notice what's going on, right? And to interpret it, to observe what is it here for? What is the teaching inside, right? And of course, a coach should be a coach who has done this transformation, him or herself, already, so can totally relate to that. But a person from the outside, of course, can much better observe all these things that are going on than you can yourself, because you're just overwhelmed by all the problems you face, right? So that's where a good coach kicks in.
Yeah,
totally agree to that. And to decide, but it's also to come to a clear state of mind. What is the situation I'm facing just now? Is the fear, is it good, or is it just a mind freak, right?
Right, exactly.
What is it about? So I really had to do that, and but I have the problem. I'm very temperamented, and I'm better at working than in relaxing. So I was always running and going, and of course nobody could do that, right? But as I mentioned before, with all my tasks here, I became myself multi-genius. And otherwise, I couldn't have done everything that was on my to-do list, right? So, but it was just too much that I did. I didn't take time for myself. So even I didn't know how to chill out. How can I do it, right? But then I just watched my two wonderful sons. They are brilliant at it. And my dog is even better at it. She's the chill out expert, right? So because the doctors told me, forget about going on like that. You need to take a rest and to sleep and everything, and to watch yourself. And like this, they told me even before the situation went so worse. But I just didn't know how to adapt it, right? And but I had three wonderful examples that I watched clearly to follow, right?
I think that's true. Like we learn from each other. Dogs are great teachers for this.
Wonderful.
And,
She's brilliant.
And it's I want to articulate what you're pointing to, which is a big imbalance, I think, in Western culture, is we privilege doing and production and, you know, the doing side of life we see as so important. And we forget that the being side of life is what actually has the doing work, you know, like when doing is happening just for the sake of doing, it can get driven and dry and exhausting.
Yeah.
And also when just being, you know, the opposite is also true. Like when we're stuck in being and not producing at all, like we can get very watery and kind of lost in our feelings and not have any direction. That's not the goal either. But the goal is to have a good integration of the doing side and the being side. There's room to feel. There's room to slow down. There's room to rest when it's time to rest. And then there's room to act and be decisive and rock it when it's time to do that. But I think so many people in Western culture have an inner conflict between these two sides, where the being is being cut off or pushed down or not important. And that's why a lot of why we're getting sick.
Right. I even didn't allow my female side to show up too much, right? Because I was always in the masculine success and managing side there, and I was pushing really hard, not because somebody asked me to, but because it was just my manner, and I'd rather work than relaxed. It was just like that. I didn't ask right if it's right, if it's wrong. I was just running on this pattern, right? Until I didn't have power and energy to run like that anymore.
At some point, the battery runs out. The battery just runs out. I had
to change, but before I was just going and going and going, and I myself was the worst criticism that could be on us, right? So there was somebody inside my head always, oh, come on, go. And I didn't outsource things. I didn't tell my sons, do this, do that, go for a walk with the dog, whatever. Because telling them and asking, please, can you do that? And of course, most of the time they didn't want to do it right in that second. This always ended up in me doing it, because then I learned myself, before I go ahead and ask several times, come on,
let's do it. It's fast.
Let's do it. It's done quickly. Yeah, but this adds, and after a while, it's impossible. This was my own manner that led me to this disaster.
And that's a great insight. You know, I want
to change it.
Yeah, I really want to celebrate that you saw that, because you know, until you make that turn where you realize, oh, it's my manner that's creating the situation, as opposed to what most people do for a really long time, which I've done, you did for a while, was like, everybody else is lazy and stupid and I have to do everything myself. But then you realize, you know, healing happens when we actually make that turn and go, oh, I'm setting this up. I created this. I'm the one who's working too hard. I'm the one with the driver in my head always telling me to go harder. That's the thing that's making me sick, not all these people out there, you know?
Yeah, and that's how we break the circle. We just started this discussion. It's us to figure out what we're gonna tolerate or not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If I could have made my son do the washing machine or whatever, and I could have insisted on it, but I didn't. Right? Yeah. So I tolerated this behavior of them, and it, of course, didn't go out good for me, for myself, right? So,
but I would say, like, you tolerated it because you hadn't yet looked at the part of yourself that was invested in doing everything, right? And so then it's that work, that gorgeous work that you did to see, oh, it's my manner, where you took responsibility. From there, it becomes much easier to ask for what you want and to ask your sons in a way that feels good, to say, hey, would you do the dishes? Would you put the dishes in the dishwasher? But it's because you've understood that part of you that before was like, trying to do everything, right? You took responsibility. And then from there's so much room.
Yeah.
And the request actually feels good to the other person because it's not coming with this other energy behind it, right? Which is the unexamined backpack. Like once you opened your backpack and took the things out, right? Then the relationships feel better. Everything feels better because you're able to set that boundary in a way that's authentic, right? Like, I'm happy to do this. This I don't want to do. Please do that.
Right.
And there's space. Does that make sense?
Right. And it's us to say, I can do it or I can't, right? How does the other person know, right?
We have to say it, otherwise they don't know.
In partnerships, in relationships, right? So
exactly.
Men mostly don't read our minds. Maybe they they just can't, right? So
I mean, may I give a tip to your audience here quickly about that?
Yes.
So my partner and I have a practice where when I make requests, like take out the garbage, or wash the dish, whatever. Okay. If I make a request and he can feel that my request is coming with resentment, or it's coming with the belief that he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, he will not.
He will not. He will say, no, ask again.
Yeah.
And I have to work over here inside me to go, what am I believing right now? Oh, I'm believing he doesn't want to help me. I'm believing that that I don't have the right to ask for help here. I should do it myself. I have to do my own work. And then I try it again. I look at it and I see what's happening. Hey, would you take out the garbage? And if it's still not clean, he'll say, nope, ask again. And I have to go, oh, what am I doing? What am I believing? What am I feeling? And then, okay, hey, would you take out the garbage? And then he's like, yes. And he takes out the garbage, right? So we have a deliberate practice to help me. I mean, it helps him in terms of his own awareness and tuning into what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And then it also helps me because I tune into what I'm doing in a way that I'm not always aware of. And the upside is that I get to, learn to ask for things in a clean and clear way, and drop my resentment and drop my fear that he doesn't want to do it, and drop my belief that I'm supposed to do everything because I'm Superwoman. All these things, I get to drop that, and he gets to drop feeling pressured and feeling like he's doing it wrong and all these things, and actually have me ask for things in a way that feels good. And then he gets to give it to me, and then he gets to win because I'm grateful, and it creates a much better cycle.
Yeah, because it depends all on our state, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So I offer that to your listeners as a game they could play in their life with someone. Say, hey, let's play a game around requests. And if I make a request of you that doesn't feel good, say that, and I will look at it. And you make a request of me that doesn't feel good, I will say that doesn't feel good. And that way you actually get closer, and you get to help each other get free from some of these old things.
Yeah, because you're so right. It's a role play, right?
Yeah.
Nothing else. And that's why I often say, if we assume the other part might be the partner or the child, whatever, even the dog.
Right.
If we assume, oh, he's not gonna take out the rubbish, he's likely not to do it.
Exactly.
And getting mad then is, of course, the wrong way, right? That's why, it's so important not to put, negative thoughts. If we assume the partner not to do something, we better don't ask, because this gonna end up in shit, right?
That's right.
We are not likely to get what we ask for if we assume up front he will not do it. 99% he will not do it, because it depends on our state, right? So it's so brilliant how you do this with Patrick, right? So you're sort of doing role play.
And we are it's like we get to be on the same team.
Yes.
Totally. He is supporting my awareness of where I'm speaking from, and I'm supporting his awareness of how things feel with him. Because for men, they don't always know, they can't always say what they're feeling.
Yes.
I believe.
No, totally what you're talking
men
about.
Feel everything, but they've been trained to have a disconnect. And so it supports him in the experience that what he's feeling is right, which is so important for a man, because they are not trained. They're trained to not feel and be strong.
Yeah.
So this practice actually has him get to have the feeling or the direct experience of what he's feeling being right, because I say, oh yeah, you're right, I was resentful. So he's validated, his feeling is validated.
Yes.
And I'm supported in cleaning up my shit, you know?
Yeah.
And then asking him in a present and clear way that's based in present time, not based on the past. So it's actually a win-win for both people.
It's wonderful, Mary Elizabeth. It's just wonderful. Thanks for sharing this actual daily practice with Patrick, your partner. And I really think these stories or examples are likely to lead our listeners to think on what we're talking about here, and to be inspired, and to if you're thinking about how she's doing it, I could do it that way. You just chatted with us. It seems so easy, right? You're supporting each other. And like this, everybody, you and him, are likely to get what they intended to get and what they want, right?
Right.
So if you push the other and punish him, this doesn't lead nowhere. It doesn't work, right? So I thanks so much for sharing this example.
Oh, you're so welcome. But I also want to say it doesn't work to beat up on yourself for having the feelings of wanting to punish him.
No, not at all.
Because there's likely some conditioning from the past. Maybe your mother was like that, or
most
you saw
of the time,
other women, And so it's like, it's okay to have those feelings of like, oh my God, my man is an idiot. Why doesn't he do the things? But, so you don't also want to beat yourself up for that.
No,
but
that's
bloody bullshit too. What do you want? And how do you change your own behavior so that he feels good and also changes his behavior? It's a win-win for both.
Completely. But this is still sucking evolutionary thing, right? So men as small boys, they are told, oh, you're not supposed to cry or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So I always say for my consideration, a man who allows himself to cry or to be sad or to show his feelings, whatever they might be, he's really strong in my eyes, right?
Me too. Yeah.
That's
I agree.
what strength is, to just let the feelings flow, not to put it in the baggage again. And just express how you feel by talking, by crying by showing up, and just interact and just admit, yes, I'm sorry right now, or I'm upset, or whatever it might be. Yeah, this is what really we should learn and do, because this is the healing inside.
This is it. And it's
I remember just a case. We can say it here, right here. We've just been in Tampa, in the beautiful Tampa. I loved it so much. And we've been on a new media summit, and it was all about podcasting and the topic we are just covering here. And yes, of course, it's plenty of people you don't know, so I don't have a problem. I'm good in relationships and people. I'm bad in math and accounting, but I have a calculator, so it doesn't matter too much. So I'm always the contributor and collaborating and all that stuff. But not everybody is good in that, right? So people sort of not feeling too good in a big group, or in exercises we had there to look deep in the soul and everything. And even if something went wrong or is scary, when a man cries, oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
It is.
You know?
Yeah.
I just hugged him for that, and he was just having a case here in front of my eyes. But that's what we need, and I saw plenty of people really emotional there, all on the duties and tasks we had to solve there. There have been plenty of people. They showed their authentic way and their feelings in this special moment, and others still didn't, right? But maybe they felt the same, but they put this fear and the being upset again down in the baggage, right? Let's close the suitcase up there, and this is still not. This will not lead nowhere. That's why I'm going for my mission to become mankind authentic. I don't know if I can get mankind authentic, but I'm doing my best to inspire people on that, because this is the only enjoyable and being fully fulfilled way to live. Otherwise, you're living other people's life for mother-in-law.
Well, I mean, just the way you're living, and this podcast even is the permission. I mean, it's the way that your being in the world actually gives permission to other people to be that way too, right? So it's so important.
Totally.
The work that you're doing.
Totally. Totally. Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
No, that's it. It's like,
okay.
I think the way that we change the world is we change ourselves. And then we show up in the world as the thing that we want.
Yes.
In such a way that other people go, oh my God, I want that too. How did she do that? Yes. I want that.
Yeah.
Right. And they lean in and they get curious, and then they're inspired to do the work, to show up in their life, being the person that they want to be. And then it's like you light one candle from another candle and it keeps going. I think that's how we actually change the world.
Completely. I 180% I agree, because that's why I'm having of course experts on the show, but I also give my stage here to people that survived really traumatic situations, whatever it might be, the death of a loved one or whatever. And because I consider them as being an expert too, right? There's no examination or whatever certificate needed, because if they overcame that traumatic situation, they found a way of resilience to move through. And for me, they are brilliant. They are just brilliant. And I bring them on the show as well, because I really consider they are brilliant, as they found a way to cope with the loss, whatever might have happened, right? And it's not a question of certificates or whatever, right? And it's those people are mostly not given a stage because nobody knows them, right? And I feel it's for me, I'm dedicated to give them a stage too. And me as a host, I try to have people and experts on the show that my listeners can relate to their stories, right? Of course, we are almost so
we're so similar, yeah.
But it might not be the case with everybody. But in sharing personal stories, and I truly believe that there is so much learning inside for our listeners, right? So whether they can relate, they know what we are talking about, they have the same situation faced already or whatever. But I think personal stories are really a method of healing. Yeah. Because listeners can hear and they will say, oh, these two ladies, wonderful ladies, hopefully they would say they transformed themselves over and over and over to now being authentic and to showing up here, because this is a big fear to speak in public. Oh my gosh, right. I was very fearful because of that. But I just went through and I just overcame this fear because I felt my mission. I have to share this here, right? Because it's so important to become authentic and to be ourselves, to find ourselves and to show up like that. And skip all the rest, which is not us, right?
Right.
And that's most of the healing already inside.
That's right.
But it's a huge step to reach there. And to reach there, especially with personal development and personal transformation, it's nearly impossible to do it on your own. That's what we talked about before, right? Because you're so much in your feelings and emotions that it's impossible to have a clear mind and to observe what's going on, to notice what is going on and to notice the perceptions which we just had with your husbands. We have towards something, and it's a process to become self-aware, to notice what is going on here and where does it relate mostly in the childhood, right? We both know that, but to come to an observing state and then to clear the plate, right? To say, okay, this situation is similar to something I experienced in the childhood. That's the thinker proving us that we are right, because we thought, oh, maybe this will not be likely to be a good fit, and we will be proof just that what we are thinking, right? That's the mechanism, and the only way to get out of this unconscious running circle there is to become self-aware and to notice and observe what is in the present. Becoming present is one step of it. Becoming present to observe and notice what's going on, to see, this pattern kicks in. First, why and how and what does it relate to in the past? We will find something there. And then we are able to change it. Before, we don't have no chance to change it. By restricting or pushing it away, it will hit us even harder. That's what I learned. I've gone through the school of hard knocks, I can tell you.
I hear you.
Until I was ready to embrace all the suck and to just notice and become relaxed and chilled out and observing what's going on. Because with the upset head or the fear of being fearful, we cannot change anything. It's impossible to change anything. And of course, to have a good coach like you, for example, or like I had with Derek Riddell, he's very famous on that part. And or me, we are all in the same field there. And without a coach, it's nearly impossible to come to the real point where we need to come, right? It doesn't mean because most listeners, they think, I have to feel that again and again and again. No, we don't have to feel it again and again. Well, we have to feel it once, at least, to come to the point where it kicked in. So I work a lot with buying Katie the work. And
I love that.
I love it too. I did it, I don't know, thousands of times. And I'm working with EFT because that's all the emotional tapping, right? And those techniques there. But it's difficult to get on the run on your own. I totally agree to that. Yes. So, but let's mention your gift, because we have the Fly winners, Fly podcast winners, and you were so kind to give us put in a gift, and that will be, just have to read it because I can't remember the gift quite clearly. The other things I always talk out of my experience and everything, but of course now I have to look this up. This is called the 5 Key Steps to Say It Like You Mean It and to Win in Tough Conversations. So everybody of our listeners has those situations, right?
That's right.
It can be useful for everybody, men, women, whatever, even for
absolutely.
children.
Yeah, it's a 5-step guide to having a more effective conversations that create connection. Yeah, and also help you have more of what you want.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant, Mary Elizabeth. And I'm so thankful you're throwing that into the lottery pot. And
I want to make sure to give the link because the link has actually changed possibly since I gave it to you.
Okay.
So the link to get that free gift, go to MEMALI, so memali.com /opt-in convo. So OPTINCONVO. So it's memali.com /opt-in convo, no dashes, just opt-in convo, one word, and there they can pick up that free gift.
Okay. Yeah, because when we are on audio here with the podcast, it's not easy to understand that. Our listeners may be on the spot, on the way, on in the car, whatever. So make sure, please, you send this to my messenger. And so I can put it in the show notes, right?
Perfect. I'll do that.
So I will put all of that and the summary and everything. I do it always in the show notes, so the listeners can just recap what we were talking about.
Yeah,
and also the links, because it's hard to get it right here on the spot now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm so grateful for this long talk. Oh yeah, we've been talking 1.5 hours. You know that?
Yeah, it's so easy to talk to you.
Thank you. Normally I do 30 minutes, but never mind. We've been so much.
Well, now you have lots of material you can cut and slice.
Yeah, it was wonderful. And my dear listeners out there from the Fly Nation, I hope you enjoyed our personal stories around the topic. And could get some advice and some tips out of that. And of course, I will put everything in the show notes. You don't have to worry here to have the link or whatever, to have if you don't have no pen, no nothing. It's just below the episode in the show notes. So thanks again for listening. Thanks again, Marty, Elizabeth, for being here, for being such a wonderful, great guest. And be sure to tune in to the next week's episode. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Hello, Fly Nation. Thank you for listening in today. We shared the inspirational path on how to benefit from being yourself and allowing yourself to believe you belong, rather than trying to fit in and to belong, as this levels up your life. Please share the Fly podcast with your friends, as they also can profit from the tips revealed, and you can win a 45-minute permission ignition session with Mary Elizabeth. Don't forget to subscribe to be sure to catch your next transformational success stories. You'll find all links and recaps in the show notes description. Please rate and review either on freestyleyourlifepodcast.com or on your favorite podcast directory, such as the Freestyle Your Life podcast channel on iTunes. Looking forward to inspire and level up your life in the next interview. Have a great day and go for your dreams. Remember, Fly Nation, break free and fly. Talk to you in the next interview. Bye.